Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. On our way to 5,000 subscribers by September 7th, Texas LSU. Can't wait. But today, we're talking Cowboys. Schedule release. The NFL has come out with the full schedule, all 17 weeks. And I'm here to break it down with you guys today in terms of the Dallas Cowboys. Again, I just feel like it's, copy and paste as the NFL normally does. In terms of the Cowboys schedule, just insert whatever the two divisions we're playing in each conference that year, and then whatever place we finished at, and we're gonna slot the Giants in week 1 or 2, typically them coming to Dallas, and then we'll have a couple cold weather games in December and November with our NFC East opponents. So other than that, it's pretty much par for the course. That's why I don't ever get too excited for schedule release. I know I did a video about this last year when I went real into depth about us playing, the whole cold weather scenario and whatnot later in the season. Hasn't really been an issue for us too much though. I mean, last season we lucked out by playing like all dome teams in December until the last Giants game, which we were already in the playoffs by then. So this year there is a little bit more concern, and that's where first thing I always look at the schedule because of the nature of where we play and playing indoors. I do look at later in the season elements being a factor. Having to go to New England week 12 at the end of November and that's going to turn into a short week because we play Buffalo on Thanksgiving. So that's one to look out for. Then coming out of the Buffalo game, week 14 against Chicago, when that's going to be, a cold weather game. And then our last cold weather game will be week 16, which could be a game for the division at Philadelphia. So if, to me, that's advantage Eagles getting a home game, potentially for the division. Right now, I think pre-draft and where things have shaken out in free agency, Cowboys and Eagles are kind of vying for that number one overall spot in the NFC East, and the Redskins and Giants, have some ground to make up on paper. Now, many people are probably looking at our schedule saying, hey, this looks kind of tough. The only opponents that we're not really worried about is the rest of the AFC East outside of New England, having to play the NFC North. We expect Green Bay and Minnesota to be better, especially with the quarterbacks we have to face. I still respect Kirk Cousins, and I do expect Aaron Rodgers to bounce back. And then Detroit with Matthew Stafford. We've had a lot of battles with him throughout the years. We also anticipate him bouncing back this season. So, stout quarterback play across the board that we're going to be competing against week in, week out. Now, you look at our schedule, starting with the beginning, New York, Washington, Miami, on paper, those look like winnable games. All three of those teams did not make the playoffs last year, and right now they're picking pretty high in the draft. But the NFL, and then on the back end, we're looking at, before the last Washington game, Philly, who made it to the divisional round, the Rams, who beat us, Chicago, who's one of the best teams in the league, made it to the divisional round, Buffalo, who didn't make it, but New England, who obviously won the Super Bowl. So schedule on paper looks backloaded, but going back to the beginning, the NFL never shakes out the way you think it is. Miami, Washington, New York, one of those three are probably going to be a surprise team that no one's talking about right now, even though we don't have a line of sight to it. Stranger things have happened, and the schedule never breaks. And then that team that is a juggernaut, when you're looking at the schedule, may, injuries and something may happen where that's no longer a game of concern at the end of the year. I mean, even looking at the Giants last year, with Saquon Barkley and the offense that they were, we were expecting for them to deploy, that wasn't necessarily the case when we played them late in the season last year. So that's just yet another reason why I don't get too worked up over the schedule. But I will be coming out with another video going over just our whole State of the Union on the offseason going into the draft. First, just breaking down, some of the moves we've made, the signings, obviously the big question mark about Dak Prescott and how much money he deserves and whether we should make that happen before the season starts. And then, what we need to look at going into the draft and just some of my thoughts on some guys I like to target. Last year I was pretty on the money with LVE as well as Michael Gallup. And there are some guys I've identified around 58, and depending on whether or not we should even consider moving up in the draft for certain players. But, just concluding and getting back to the schedule here, overall, I mean, you already know what divisions you're going to play. At this point, we just have to wait and see how these teams draft, what happens June 1st cuts, and then how things shake out. But I like the bye week in the middle. Those are things I always like to see, so it's a good balance. I hate the early bye or the late bye. I like it being somewhere in between week 7 and 9 personally. And for us to get into week 8, I'm cool with that. Primetime games, playing Chicago Thursday night. That's going to be a really cool game just to see on TV. Cold weather, Soldier Field, Dak Prescott against Mitchell Trubisky. Just overall, I think, and then obviously we're getting a rematch with the Los Angeles Rams. And personally, I actually like the way this schedule shakes out, because if the teams that were tough last year, remain the same, which won't happen, but if that does happen, the New Orleans and the Phillies and the Chicagos and the Rams of the world, we're getting to play all those guys where we have an opportunity to really, level up and see where we're at, throughout the season, especially with this being an evaluation year for Jason Garrett. And I've kept that same energy, throughout this offseason in terms of, that's why I was excited about the Kellen Moore move, because it's excuse my language, is shit or get off the pot, so that's how I feel with this coaching staff, and going into this season, obviously we're going all in. So you guys let me know how you guys feel about the schedule. If you're excited about schedule release day, I think it's more for fans that are, season ticket holders and people that are, making travel plans and going to the game. I think that's exciting. But overall, I mean, it's just another day for me. More excited about the draft and breaking down what not just our roster looks like, but our opponents as well, after we get out of April. So excited to hear from you guys. Again, going to 5,000 subscribers. Please hit us up, like, share, subscribe, and follow all of our links, all social media links in the description box below. But I will be back soon with the more of the State of the Union Cowboys stuff on the entire offseason going to the draft. Peace.